Emergencies happen, be prepared. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. So today we'll be talking about emergency fund. What it is, why is it important for van life, our story behind making this video, and how big should the emergency fund be. So let's just jump to the video. So let's start with our story and then we'll go from there. So we bought our van the end of March in 2020, and before we started with our van conversion, we put it up for a checkup to the Dodge at the Dodge store, and they said everything worked great. So we were so excited, started working on the build. We moved into our van April 30th, 2020. A couple weeks after we moved in, our transmission started acting up a bit. So our transmission is automatic, but it would sometimes die on us when we left it in gear while waiting on the red light. It was annoying, but we didn't really have money at the time for any repairs. We just kind of ignored it. So a couple months after that, I think it was June or July, the transmission actually died. It wouldn't switch to the second gear manually or automatically, so we had to get it fixed. Basically, we had to get a new one. We bought a used one because that's what they had in such a short notice. We live in the van, obviously. We had to get it fixed quickly, and it cost us 4,700 Canadian dollars. I'll put some conversions on the screen. So that money was for the transmission and the work only, and it took them 3 days to replace it. Basically, we were homeless for 3 days. We do still own a car because it's financed and we can't really get rid of it yet, but we were lucky to still own the car. So we kind of lived in the car for 3 days while our van was in the shop. So for those 3 days, we just kind of drove around Ontario, explored some parks we've never been at. We also had showers in those parks. We were lucky it was summer, it was warm outside, and we slept in the car. It was actually pretty fun. So the point is, if we didn't have a car, we would have to get a hotel or an Airbnb or find someone to let us sleep in their place. That would cost a lot more than just the van repair, especially with a big dog like ours. A lot of places don't allow big dogs or they charge some extra. So at the time, we finally finished paying off our credit cards from the van build because we didn't have any money saved up for the build itself. So our credit card limit is $5,000, so we basically maxed out our credit card for the transmission replacement. We were lucky that we had the money to do it, but then we had to pay off the credit card. But after that, things kept happening. There was always something else to fix or replace or repair or build, so we kept charging our credit cards. So we weren't able to pay them off because every time we tried to pay it off, we had to fix something else. I'll move over so you can see the timeline of how everything went. So in March, we paid for the checkup before starting the build. April 30th, our lease was up. We moved into the van. Then everything was fine, but transmission started acting up around June, and then August we had to replace the transmission. So that was $4,700 Canadian. I'll be talking in Canadian, but you should see some conversions on here. So in October is my birthday, and we were supposed to go up north to hike the tallest mountain in Ontario. So we were supposed to go there, and it's really far away from everything. And we put our van for checkup and oil change, and they found the front right axle. It had a hole in it or something. Honestly, I don't know anything about cars, but we kind of stayed in the city and then put the van in to fix that axle in November. And then they found that the left part was acting up as well, and there was a radiator leak. So we went in December, and then they were like, oh, well, the oil pan gasket, whatever, is leaking as well, so we would have to replace that. And at that point, we paid off our credit cards and had some money saved up, so we're like, yeah, let's just fix everything we have to, so we wouldn't have to like deal with that anymore. Better to be fixed than like something else going wrong because of that. So we went back in December and got the oil pan fixed and something else which we don't even remember anymore, but this was the cost. So for Christmas, we went up north for a couple days. You can check the video, I'll link it down below. But driving back, something was strange. Our back tire had a noise, so we thought maybe it was air pressure and tried to fix that, but it was still making a noise. So we went in and the rim on the tire was bent, so we had to replace the rim and both back tires and get new shocks for the back. So these were all the van replacements and fixes, but then in February we had to fix our Webasto heater. We bought a used one, and for the whole winter it was working, but it was never working properly. It was sort of overheating all the time, but we kind of made it work. It kept 15 to 17 degrees inside, and it was good enough. And we just didn't want to charge another thing on our credit card, but then in February it actually died. So we wouldn't even like start up anymore, so we had to get that fixed, and it was $500 altogether. We paid 11,000 Canadian dollars for all the broken things. So this was a ton of money. Now this brings me to the point of this video, which is having an emergency fund. What is it? How big should it be? And why we think it's important. And from our story, I think you already know the answer. So first, what is emergency fund?
It is money you save aside for unexpected expenses. It will help keep you out of debt if something happens, give you financial control and peace of mind.
So basically, you save up money in case of an emergency, but this money is saved up upfront, not paying your credit card after something happens. So whenever something breaks, you'll be able to pay for the repairs and for the hotel if you have to sleep over. So if the van is staying at the shop for multiple days, you'll have to pay for a hotel, for food and everything else. Like I said, we own a car, so we didn't have to, and maybe you have friends in town or family you can sleep over at, and that's great. But I think you should still have some money saved up in case it happens while you're traveling and there's no one that you know where you could sleep over. Next question. How big should the emergency fund be? And that really depends on a lot of things. Do you live in the van full time, or do you just use it for travels? Depends where in the world you live. How much do the shops charge where you live? It depends on what kind of van you have. Because if it's a rare van and the parts are rare, it'll be more expensive to get the parts and to fix your van, and probably a longer waiting time as well. And then the last question you should ask yourself is, would you have to pay for a room if your van's in the shop for a couple days? If yes, then add $30 to $50 per person. It also depends if you have a dog. Take all of this into account while building up your emergency fund. So in our case, our biggest expense was $4,700. If we had to pay for those 3 nights that we slept in the car, that would add another $150. So for like sleeping over and food. So the lowest emergency fund I would plan for is 5,000 Canadian dollars. That's how much we would have to pay when our transmission died. So having saved up $5,000 would like help us with a couple smaller repairs or a bigger one like a transmission. However, things might pile up as you've seen in our story, and I think ideal emergency fund would be somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000 for everyone living full-time in a van. We were lucky it only took 3 days, but if it took 5 days, a week, if we had to wait for a transmission, then $5,000 wouldn't be enough. If you only use your van for travels, I think $5,000 should be enough to get some minor things replaced, or to get you home and then work on your van from home. Okay, this brings us to the last point of this video, and that is when to start saving. Honestly, right now, if you didn't start yet, pause this video, put some money in your savings account right now. Oh wait, no worries, go ahead, do it. But seriously, I think you should start saving before you move into your van. Put some money aside while you're doing your van conversion, and then let it pile up. Never stop saving for it. Add as much as you can until you get to $10,000. Don't stop saving, because you never know what and when might something happen and you'll need a lot of money. You basically live in your van. It's your house. It's your home. You'll be homeless without it. You can't drive anywhere without it. It's a priority. The past 6 months have shown us how quickly things can go wrong from one to another. And you can't plan on when these things are gonna happen, but you know it will eventually happen. So you can be prepared for it. Like, we were not prepared for any of it. We maxed out our 2 credit cards, which were combined 7,000 Canadian dollars. And they saved us a lot. Now we're paying off our credit cards and simultaneously saving up for our emergency fund because something might come up again, and we want to be prepared this time. So yeah, please don't repeat our mistakes. Start saving right now. I hope our story was helpful and it showed you the importance of emergency fund. Like, in a day, in a month, everything can go wrong and you have to be prepared for it. So I really encourage you to open a savings account, add some money in, $50, $20, even $5, $10. Just start building it up. You will need it at some point. Okay, so we actually have come to the end of this video now. Let me know, did this happen to you as well? Were you prepared? Do you have an emergency fund? What was your biggest cost or repair in your van? And did you have money saved up for it? Or were you maxing out your credit cards like we did? So yeah, share your story in the comment section. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye. In case you were wondering, I'm not sitting down. I'm like sort of squatting. Oh, this is gonna be hard. I don't think I've ever done a sit down video or a squatting video. Okay.